Growing up in the PlayStation ecosystem, I've played a countless number of amazing games that I will never forget. My top 10 favorite games would probably be half PlayStation exclusives. A game you wouldn't see anywhere near the top of my list though is the Killzone series. It's not that I thought Killzone was a bad game, it's just that the premise of Killzone never really excited me enough to go out and buy them. I did end up buying Killzone Shadowfall when PS4 launched, but that's because it was the marquee game for the console. And while the game impressed me graphically, it ultimately wasn't anything to write home about. That's when I started to write Guerrilla Games off as just an okay studio. But that was until they announced their new game at E3 2015.
Up next, to introduce a completely new franchise that I'm totally excited about, it is my pleasure to welcome from Guerrilla Games, Herman Hurst.
Once every decade or so, game studios get a rare opportunity. An opportunity to leave behind the comfortable and familiar, to conquer the challenge of exploring exotic, new horizons. It's been a long journey getting here, but today, on behalf of everyone at Guerrilla Games, I am delighted to finally unveil our newest franchise.
They don't tell us why the machines rule these lands, but they warn us that this balance cannot last. The storm is coming. And I will be ready.
When Guerrilla Games showed off Horizon for the first time, pretty much everyone was amazed. It was probably the highlight of the show for Sony's E3 conference. It was Guerrilla's first new IP since Killzone, so I wanted to give them another chance to wow me. I was genuinely so excited for this game. I would read every scrap of news or watch any gameplay that was released to satiate my hunger to play it. When launch day arrived, I rushed to the midnight release and came home and immediately popped in a disc. I couldn't contain my excitement. Everything about this game to this moment felt so special, and I hadn't even started playing yet. But before I get into what makes Horizon so special, I should probably address the elephant in the room. Just about a month before Horizon was announced in 2015, there was a game that released that truly shook up the RPG genre. This game is, of course, The Witcher 3. When The Witcher 3 released, it made waves around the gaming industry and set the new standard for any RPG that would release after it. Its side quests felt genuinely engaging to play, the level of detail and atmosphere in the open world was like no other, topped off with an amazing story and choices that actually mattered. This game just did everything right. It seemed like games after The Witcher 3 tried to copy it, or just flat out failed to meet this new standard. With Horizon Zero Dawn releasing 2 years after The Witcher 3, Guerrilla Games had their work cut out for them. Maybe it's unfair to compare a new IP from a studio that primarily made first-person shooter games to the colossal success of The Witcher, especially when CD Projekt Red had 3 tries at it, but that's how this industry works. So did Horizon live up to its already high expectations? I think that Horizon may have even exceeded expectations. It may not, in my honest opinion, be better than The Witcher 3, but on its own, this game was truly remarkable. It did a lot of things right, and if you told me this was developed by a seasoned studio known for their success in the RPG genre, I would believe you. They did something that games like Fallout 4 or Mass Effect Andromeda missed the mark on completely in the post-Witcher 3 world. Now, I won't be getting into story spoilers because I want people to truly experience this game how I experienced it for the first time. So if you haven't yet played this game, you'll be safe to watch this video. Booting up Horizon Zero Dawn for the first time, you are greeted with a nice cutscene that sets up the game nicely. It shows Rost running through the world, seeing various machines that you will encounter during the game. It is really a great cutscene to start the game off with. You can just sit back and enjoy the visuals and get immersed into the world instantaneously. Graphics are always stunning, even after multiple playthroughs. The colors of the foliage or details on fabrics and materials are just outstanding. This game has some of the most impressive visuals I've ever seen in anything, honestly. I was amazed a game could even look this good on a base PS4. After that cutscene though, once you can finally control Aloy, you are thrown into these ancient ruins and start getting hints and pieces of story explaining what happened to this old world. It's done in a way that doesn't feel expository, and you start making connections by yourself. The actual environment tells a story by just looking at it as well. This bleeds into the actual open world too. There's some parts of the world that actually give you hints at in-game revelations that you can completely miss or flat out not understand. There is a part early in the game where you can listen to a story being told to a group of children. It's your choice as the player if you want to sit down and listen to this story or just run right past it. If you happen to listen to this story though, it gives you a little bit of knowledge of a certain backdrop in the game. You sort of understand why that specific thing is there just from this optional story. Of course, the game gives you more in-depth knowledge exactly on what it is, but that isn't until close to the end of the game. Listening to this story honestly makes that moment of you learning what actually happened hit a little bit harder. You can sort of connect how that story ended up the way it did. And this is all story you can get from the game without it being told to you through dialogue or through a codex or database. It immerses you in the world just seeing these things and gathering this info without it being told directly to you. Not everyone will catch these sort of things, but it's so rewarding when you do discover little things like that. Very few games can do this well, and it amazes me that Guerrilla Games are one of the few developers who pulled this off successfully. The main appeal of Horizon was definitely encountering the machines. All Guerrilla had to do was show me robot dinosaurs and I was hooked. So it's no surprise that engaging these machines is the highlight of Horizon. These machines feel real and act in ways you expect them to act. You can admire them from afar and they feel like they are just a part of nature and a part of the world. I honestly can't think of any other game where wildlife, for the most part, feels like they're actually living in this world. When traversing through the world, just stop and watch the machines. For example, you can sit and watch a herd of scrappers moving around and harvesting parts and collecting scraps from dead machines, or lanthorns harvesting natural resources. Even the way the machines are designed is crafted with such care you don't see from other games. The level of detail on each machine can tell you what type of material the machine is made out of, and the visible components of the machine are a part of its job. Some machines are tasked with carrying cargo, so you can see a compartment on the machine where it carries it. It's little things like that in combination with the atmosphere of the game that makes this world feel truly alive. This also extends to the combat as well. Machines have their own way of fighting depending on what type of machine it is. Some of them don't really have any offensive capabilities, so they will just buck at you or simply run away. Other machines do have offensive components, so you have to strategize and plan your attack. Fighting a Thunderjaw, for example, was really overwhelming because they have so many ways they can attack you. You really have to prioritize certain components on them depending on the environment you're in and how you want to weaken it. Thinking about how you fight instead of just mashing a button or shooting arrows at it until it dies make these fights feel more memorable. I remember my first time fighting a Thunderjaw or a Snapmaw or a Stormbird. Fucking go! Because they were intimidating and tested my ability to improvise and my knowledge of the game's combat. Every machine has strengths and weaknesses, and knowing what they are will help you survive in this world. Ever since The Witcher 3, quests and side quests have higher expectations. People no longer accept simple and tedious tasks for side quests, myself included. This is probably where The Witcher 3 set the bar the highest. Side quests have to be at least nearly as engaging as the main storyline. Horizon has some decent to pretty good side quests too. There are definitely some quests that do feel a little tedious, but for the most part they are engaging enough to keep you interested. This is more so the case once you finally reach Meridian and the world starts to really open up. Once again, I won't get into any spoilers, but for example, there was a side quest where I found the guy whose house was broken into and robbed. I offered to help, thinking it'd just be a quick quest and I'd be able to move on, but I quickly found out that this side quest was actually deeper and more intimate than I thought. And although it doesn't give you a choice at the end, you end up changing some people's lives for the better. Quests like that keep you engaged in the world and make doing side quests not feel like a chore. There are also some side quests you can do that introduce you to characters that slightly affect the final mission of the game. I want to stay vague to avoid spoilers, but I really appreciated seeing certain things in that final mission. The main story missions are exponentially better than the side quests though. This is where the game truly shines and impresses me the most. The story never feels predictable or cliche. There are some holy shit moments once the story really ramps up, and I love seeing other people react to these moments for the first time. Aloy truly is a great character that is voice acted extremely well and shows the right amount of emotion when she needs to. This is why I'm so glad that Guerrilla didn't ruin her character with dialogue choices. Now there are dialogue choices in the game, but they aren't there in a way that makes your choice matter, but actually to have the player mold her into a certain emotional response. There's no good, bad, and neutral option, but aggressive, thoughtful, and compassionate. These choices don't really change anything about the story, but it helps you connect with Aloy. Horizon Zero Dawn is a truly special game that I will remember playing forever. Everything from fighting machines for the first time, to just exploring the environment and collecting lore, to piecing together the mystery of the story just felt so good to play. This game is truly a harmony of everything coming together to create a package that impresses you all around. From the very second I started the game to the very end, I was engaged and couldn't put it down. I'm just as excited for Horizon Forbidden West as well. When Sony showed that game off at the PS5 showcase, I nearly squealed. I have no doubts that Guerrilla Games still has the magic and can pull off an experience like what I had when I first played Horizon Zero Dawn. I just want to end this with one request for Guerrilla Games. Please let us fly on a Glenhawk in Horizon Forbidden West and you'll have all my money, I promise. What was your favorite experience in Horizon Zero Dawn? There are so many moments in the game, I'm sure we all have different things to talk about. Sound off in the comments and let me know. And if you enjoyed this video, consider leaving a like and subscribe. Thank you for watching.